pick your class and
earn your battle points.
Because it's time for the Star Wars Battlefront Podcast. Welcome to episode 185 of the Star Wars Battlefront Podcast. I'm your host, Sage Goodwin, joined by my brother and co-host, Sam Goodwin.
Hello there.
And in this episode, we have a ton to go over, because we're going over the full details on the Age of Rebellion, as well as our thoughts on the content that was added.
Let's get started.
Let's get started with a brief overview of what was added to Battlefront 2. In this update, we have original trilogy content on co-op, which includes 7 total locations. We have 2 new reinforcements in the form of Ewok Hunter and ISB Agent. We've got 4 new blasters. Yes, we now have new blasters in the game, as well as 4 capital ships for co-op, and hero improvements, AI upgrades, and 2 new heroes versus villains maps. Let's jump into this crazy amount of content by going over some of your responses to this gigantic update. Nova at Novacore Joe, I like all of it. Personally, this may be my favorite update thus far, but of course this kind of update couldn't exist without all of its predecessors. Leia is my favorite light side hero. Her upgrades sound awesome. New reinforcements look great too. ISB Melee looks so cool. And he says they made all of the changes to Leia that he wanted. And then friend of the podcast, Daniel Schilling, says, "Good morning, gents. I hope you're both very well and looking forward to your trip, because we're going to London, Inverness, and Dublin." Just a quick note about the latest update. And he says, wow, with, it's all caps, 3 exclamation points. This is just what the game needed. I've not tried everything yet, unlocked 3 of the 4 blasters so far, but I'm really enjoying the game again. Co-op was already great, but the new map additions made it amongst perfect. It's such a great mode to play. I'm looking forward to trying all the new items later today. Keep well, Daniel. So Sam, what are your thoughts on the content added?
I think it's a really solid update. I really enjoy the trooper classes. I mean, the Ewok Hunter is a little underpowered, I think. I don't know. I feel like his bow could do a little more damage, and I think that's the only change he needs. Also, I find the ISB Agent does a little less damage than I would have hoped with her dual pistols.
I thought the same thing when I first tried her, and then as I continued playing her, it got much better. Also, can we talk about her amazing melee?
Yeah, that's awesome. Like some martial arts kicks. That's the first time we've seen really any different melee animations, really,
in that kind of terms, because we've
like
gotten
arms and legs. We've had like the Ewok Hunter does the spear.
And there's some commando
variations.
droid.
I think the KFAX Spy has like the melee ability.
Yeah,
but like the first leg action,
their legs
it doesn't
move.
do any more damage, does it? I couldn't get close enough to anyone.
It's faster. It's much faster than like a regular melee. In the amount of time that I was able to play her, it seemed to be faster.
Otherwise, haven't had a chance to mess with the weapons yet. When I play the game, I don't really focus on weapons as much as I should. I really need to devote some time and figure out what works, because really whatever's on there I use.
So on the topic of weapons, we have 4 of them. The E11D, which is a medium-range blaster rifle. We have the DL-18, the T-21, and the cycler rifle. And all of these are unlocked through defeating 50 enemies in co-op to the respective classes. The E11D is for the assault class, the DL-18 is for the officer, the T-21 is for the heavy, and then the cycler rifle is for the specialist. What are your thoughts on the strategy for unlocking them? I know there have been a couple people that have been like, man, this is really great, and then there have been a couple people that the majority of what I've heard is this is great, but there have been a small subset of people who weren't that happy that they had to do co-op. I am a huge fan of co-op, so I didn't mind it in the least.
First off, the cycler rifle is back.
Yes.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite. I mean, when it came out, it was really overpowered in Battlefront 2015, and they kind of changed it. But that was a really cool weapon. Definitely gonna need to unlock that and try it out. I'm not the biggest fan of the specialist class, to be honest, but maybe this will make me want to play.
I like the specialists on like the more open maps like Hoth or Crate.
Now all we need is that pulse cannon for the specialist. Oh yeah.
Yes.
As far as the unlocking, I mean, I think it's fine. I mean, I like co-op mode, so it doesn't really affect me, but I like it because you're branching out, maybe not used to playing this, kind of get out of your comfort zone a little bit. And I'm always a fan of the challenges, give it a little more playability and kind of have some sort of goal you can set, which is always nice in a game for sure.
Definitely. The only problem I have with the cycler rifle is the amount of damage it does. From what I've heard, it does about 149 damage on headshot and then less on the body, which is very weird because of how strong it was in original Battlefront 2015. I would have loved to see the headshot to do all of the damage, to be able to be able to headshot them.
Right, yeah, what's the point of really playing a sniper if you can't like get one shot? Since kind of like the thing you're going for.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's so hard to get a headshot, especially like way across the map.
Reward
so you should
the
be
people.
rewarded with an auto kill. It's not like it's that big of a deal either. I mean, you're not one-shotting heroes, they're troopers. And obviously, maybe just one-shot the officer, not necessarily have to, one-shot the tankier classes. But I don't know, this class is kind of a little bit underpowered compared to the other ones. So, I mean, give it that little edge on that specific weapon.
Yeah. Overall, I love the additions. We've unlocked 2 of them so far. See, I played for a couple hours a day. You played for a couple hours a day just to get the full experience. But we haven't unlocked all of them quite yet. I do think that the specialist will be the one that's going to take the longest just because of the gameplay style of the specialist isn't completely suited for speedy kills. But I love that they've added new weapons. This is something that we as Battlefront fans have been wanting for a while. It's something that they, from launch, said that they would be getting, but it has taken this long to get them. But I'm so glad that they finally did it. And I'm glad that they've done it in this way where we get some of our fan favorites from Battlefront 2015. Cycler rifle is very well known. I love the DL-18 in Battlefront 2015. Most of these are single shot, which is kind of annoying for a guy that likes to spam the shots.
Maybe we can go a little bit into the maps. I'm really pumped to talk about the original trilogy maps on co-op.
Yeah, let's jump into co-op. Then we'll get into our thoughts on the hero changes as well as the new reinforcements.
Right. I never thought I'd say this, but I'm kind of a little tired of the prequel maps, to be perfectly honest. It felt so nice to be on Endor, and the transition's really nice. It just seems all new.
The gameplay of or now called Supremacy, works so well across all of the maps now. Like even on a map that I wouldn't necessarily think it would work super well on, which is being Jabba's Palace, it works amazingly. Like I thought that would have been too small of a map for co-op, but I love it.
Right, and I played on Endor, and that was really nice, and such a different level of gameplay within each map, which is nice. Starting in the forest, which is its own. It's kind of close quarters, but not.
Yeah.
And then you transition into the almost going underground, which is really open, and then you go underground, which is super close quarters. Really excited for the original trilogy content. We've gotten all this prequel love, so it's nice to see some original trilogy love too.
Yes, I'm really glad. I played co-op on Supremacy, a ton on the prequel trilogy maps like we all did. And then I got really sick of it, so I went to the smaller game modes. But man, I am so glad that they added it to the sequel trilogy and now the original trilogy. It's added such a great gameplay style, I guess. I'm a huge fan of those original trilogy maps. Some of them aren't my favorite. Hoth I'm not a huge fan of in Battlefront 2. In Battlefront 2015, I was a huge fan of that map. But for some reason, the Hoth in this game doesn't capture me that much. But even on Hoth, I was having a fun time.
It's just nice to see some love to the original trilogy, and it feels new when it really isn't. But co-op is such a solid game mode. The AI is phenomenal for what previously was there. Yeah, just a lot of fun with the just the options of clicking which faction, which trilogy or era you would like. Yeah, a lot of fun on co-op. Probably my favorite game mode right now.
Definitely. Yeah, it's co-op is my favorite in the game right now, just because it's super easy to jump into a game. You don't need a whole lot of people to play, and because you don't have a whole lot of people to play, it's much more personal in a way. When you get into the game, you get to... It really feels like you're taking on the Empire when you're playing on the Rebellion.
Right, because you do have your companions, but I mean, really, it's just you four kind of taking on the entire army, because they don't really... Your AI companions don't really have a sense of the objective, really. So really got to take it into your own hands.
They try their best.
They try.
Yeah, so I'm a huge fan. I'm so glad that they added it. Now let's go on to the amazing surprise release of the reinforcements in this update. So originally we just knew that it was going to we're going to be getting original trilogy co-op coming and changes to the heroes. And then this comes out and they're like, oh yeah, we also have Ewok Hunter and the ISB agent. We mentioned it early on in the episode, but man, those are some great reinforcements. Very interesting gameplay. The original trilogy now has a dual wielding type reinforcement, which is great, having the contrast of the prequel trilogy reinforcement and the ARC Trooper.
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of implied that they should have added the Ewok Hunter a while back, because they already had everything set up. I just didn't know how it would equate to like the big games, but I mean, it's also a different class, different play style from and I hope they add that into the Ewok Hunt.
The bows?
The bows, yes.
It would be cool. Also, something I was super scared about when they announced it, the first thing I had on my mind was, will I be able to play these? Will I be able to play the Ewok Hunter on maps other than Endor? And in co-op, yes, you can. You can play the Ewok Hunter on Death Star. You can play him wherever you want to. And I would love... I want to give a shout out to the DICE team for putting gameplay over canonicity and the idea that, oh my gosh, this Ewok jumped on a ship and then flew to the Death Star. I love that.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I haven't really had that much fun playing a reinforcement in a while. I mean, like we said previously, there's some fixes that he needs to have specifically.
He could definitely do some more damage.
Because he has the auto aim defaulted. It kind of has a crosshair that follows the troopers.
So let's break down their abilities real quick. The Ewok Hunter's primary weapon is its Hunter Bow, which is dual firing modes. When the bow uses its default zoom, no zoom, it will pick out targets for you to fire at, similar to Lando's Deadeye ability. And then when zoomed in, you have manual control, and the longer you draw the arrow, so the longer you hold the left or the right trigger, it charges it up, kind of like a charge blast. On paper, it sounds really good, but man, is it super finicky when you zoom in.
It is, and it seems really slow. I mean, it is a bow. I mean, we're used to lasers,
it's very accurate.
It should one-shot troopers, because it's a big effort to land it on someone.
It should definitely do more damage. Something that a lot of people in the community that I've seen is the want for it to go through shields. And I think that would be an amazing change to the gameplay.
Yeah, because that's supposed to, protect energy-based weapons, so this technically shouldn't be affected by it. And it gives him some sort of edge, because right now he's just kind of there. He doesn't have any specific strengths against any one class or hero. But, I mean, it's a really good start. I'm liking the diversity in this, too.
Definitely, and it's such a surprise character. Like, I woke up... So the update info always drops, like, right when I wake up, around there. Maybe, like, an hour to 30 minutes before I wake up. I checked my notifications, and I see the Ewok Hunter. I'm like, I didn't see any information on it. It was just Ewok Hunter coming to Battlefront. I was like, is this a hunter that fights Ewoks? And then I open it up, and there we go. We have an Ewok available to play in Battlefront in all of the maps.
Yeah, like I said before, I would like to see it in Ewok Hunt the game mode. Do you know how the troops can get an upgrade on their weapons and their flashlight? It could be like if they get a certain amount of kills, they get upgraded to the bow, or maybe there's power-ups that they can, a certain amount of people can be the Ewok hunter. I think that'd be really cool. It's an Ewok. Why wouldn't it be in that game mode?
So they have 3 abilities like you would expect. They've got the primary weapon. They also have Valiant Horn. Blowing the horn will not only improve their attacks, but will also grant them additional damage resistance. Be warned though, while Valiant Horn is active, the Ewok Hunter will constantly appear on enemy scanners.
Yeah, that's a pretty good ability. I wish it had less startup time. I mean, he is blowing a horn, but still, like, you're extremely vulnerable when that happens.
They also have their trusty Wisties pouch. Bring a little bit of indoor with you no matter which battlefront you're on, and throw these fierce fire sprites toward a nearby enemy to disrupt and inflict burn damage to them. Activate Hunter's Instinct, and the Ewok Hunter will draw upon their natural instincts, allowing them to uncover and single out weakened opponents. So those are their 3 abilities.
I mean, his abilities are really good. It's just his primary weapon needs a little bit of tweaking. But, I mean, the Wisties are extremely effective and annoying on people. The horn, I mean, the startup time, like I said, is a little rough. But, I mean, it's a really good ability. And the middle star card's really good, too.
Definitely. Moving on, we've got the ISB Agent, providing the Empire with their first opportunity of a dual-wielding character. Oh my. So they are armed with 2 RK-3 blasters. The ISB Agent is skilled in intelligence gathering and close combat, working tirelessly to root the Empire's enemies out. The 3 abilities are the Assault Training ability. While active, the ISB Agent will benefit from increased sprint speed, during which she gains an overall damage reduction. That is a great move for going in and out of combat. Activate that before trying to go capture a point, and then when you are taking a lot of damage, you can quickly run out of there. Locating enemies of the Empire is made easier thanks to the Imperial Intel ability. Once activated, the ISB Agent will scan the nearby area to reveal the 4 closest enemies. The number of enemies revealed will be increased by defeating more while it's active, up to a total of 10. And then her final ability is Double Your Effort. And it empowers nearby allies by regenerating their base health. It can only be used if there is an ally in range.
As far as these 2 reinforcements go, their abilities are really good. Like, there's not one ability that I'm like, it's kind of useless, which we have seen in the past. The reveal ability on the ISB Agent, kind of quick to resolve once you see the 4 enemies, but does the trick.
Well, also pulses.
Yeah, but they disappear for a little while, and it's kind of confusing, at least for the random AI movement in co-op. I haven't checked her star cards, but is there one that ups the time? I doubt it, though.
Well, it's under the Infiltrator class, okay. So those star cards are kind of like basically blanket star cards. I've always been a fan of abilities that reveal enemies, especially on game modes like co-op, where it really matters to know where your enemies are, and this ability is no exception. It's great to know where you're getting attacked from. So the 7 maps that you can play co-op on are Yavin, Death Star 2, Endor, Hoth, Tatooine, Kessel, and Jabba's Palace. They're also adding capital ship co-op. With Supremacy, we have created a number of capital ships: the Venator, Dreadnought, MC-85 Star Cruiser, and the First Order Resurgent class Star Destroyer. In February, we start the process of bringing these ships into co-op, meaning they will be standalone maps for you to attack and defend, starting with the Republic Venator and the Separatist Dreadnought. I haven't been able to jump in these quite yet because I've just been focusing on the original trilogy, but I'm very much looking forward to that because that was, like I've said before, my highlight of Capital Supremacy when it was Capital Supremacy were those capital ships. I love the gameplay in those, and the designs are fantastic. I can't wait until we get the sequel trilogy ships in there. So with this update, we got a ton of hero changes. One in particular was the highlight for me and many in the community, and that is Leia Leia got an absolute metric ton of changes. Because they're such a big deal, I want to go through and just touch on what's been changed. So the start damage increased from 32 to 36. The end damage increased from 17 to 19. Increased damage fall off start distance from 5 to 20. Increased damage fall off from in distance from 10 to 40. They reduced the recoil and reduced the spread of blaster fire. In addition to the above modifications, we're also implementing changes to her shield, which now also heals friendly forces within it for 5 health every second. This ability is insane. It is so good. It's really effective for capturing command posts, which I think is why they added it like this. It's also really good for when you are taking a lot of damage, just to pump that down and start regenning health. Rounding out the changes to Leia is the change to her flash grenade, which is being replaced by thermal detonators. Leia will have the ability to throw 3 thermal detonators, which explode after 0.85 seconds. This ability will then enter cooldown once all 3 detonators have been thrown. Due to the above changes, some tweaks are being made to her star cards. Blinded has now become fearless. The blast radius of thermal detonators is increased, and blinding reveal is now handy device. The cooldown of thermal detonators is reduced. Chewbacca also has bowcaster improvements, and I'm going to put improvements in quotation marks there because I'm not a huge fan of it. Chewie's bowcaster will be receiving a set of tweaks and improvements within the aim and making everyone's favorite Wookiee more efficient against troopers while also missing fewer shots. Scoped, one powerful shot that would allow Chewbacca to be more efficient at long distance, and then non-scope, the 3 bolts are grouped in a triangle formation. This has been much harder for me to get used to than I thought it would have been. I don't like it. Just the way that I use the weapon really benefited the wider scope.
Yeah, because the strategy was to do the splash damage on the ground, and you could hit multiple enemies like that. I don't even think he was necessarily supposed to be like a Deadeye shot. I mean, in the movies he kind of was, but
yeah,
I mean,
especially in The Force Awakens.
I mean, since the previous Battlefront, this is how the bowcaster has been played.
Yeah.
So, that's like 5 years worth of this.
Yeah, being trained. I don't like how it looks visually. I'm not a huge fan of it. I'll get used to it, but just right off the bat, it's difficult for me to get used to. And then while using Fury's bowcaster, scoped 5 bolts in a cross, tighter than not scoped, and then non-scoped 5 bolts in a larger circle. That's been the hardest for me to get used to when I'm using those abilities, because that was the ability I would use when I'm facing Darth Vader, and I did face Darth Vader and was not able to be as successful as I once was. So while he may be better for the troops, he's not that great against Darth Vader. Auto player updates. January made an update to our auto players to allow them to play as droidekas in both co-op and instant action. In February, the auto players will be updated further as they will now be able to use vehicles. Furthermore, auto players to instant action will now be able to play as friendly heroes. This means that you'll be able to run into battle side by side with some of your favorite heroes. We're also implementing auto player squads within instant action, allowing you to squad up with the AI.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Those changes are great. I've actually had the chance to fight alongside a team where some of them were the AI heroes, and it was actually really great. I like this change because it makes a lot of sense. The other team previously was able to get the AI troopers to play the heroes, but on your team, if you weren't playing the heroes, they weren't being used. And now that changes is great. Something for fans of heroes versus villains. The MC-85 Star Cruiser and the Resurgent class Star Destroyers are now coming as playable maps. And then they also have made map layout changes to both Geonosis and Yavin 4. I haven't played on those maps yet, but again, like I said, the MC-85 is probably my favorite my favorite capital ship there. Possibly my favorite map if it was classified as a map. The Wookiee Warrior, Imperial Rocket Trooper, and Rocket Jump Trooper are all receiving updated appearances. The new appearances will become the default look for each of them, with the previous default available as an unlocked option to choose from. Troopers are also getting updated accordingly. The Imperial Death Trooper will receive the E11D Blaster Rifle. The Rocket Trooper will be equipped with the E11 for improved combat efficiency, and the Jump Trooper will use an A280C for automatic fire.
Yeah, I played the Death Trooper, and that weapon is a lot better. I really like the more accurate, powerful weapon with like the burst. It's not a burst, but like a one bolt at a time.
Mm-hmm.
It was like a spray and pray weapon originally, which I'm a bigger fan of. Kind of like the one bolt shots and take some accuracy, so definitely a fan of that update.
That's a class that I don't play that often. I probably should play more.
It's a lot better now that with the gun change. Like I actually want to play that class now.
Next time I play, I'll have to jump in as one. They've also tweaked the dual wielding functionality, which will improve both the ARC Trooper and the ISB agent. Both reinforcements will now play more consistently when firing the pistols. They will now be automatic and moved onto a single button, while Power Blast will become an alternate fire ability. This was something that, again, I had a problem getting the hang of. I was using the ISB agent like I would the ARC Trooper, trying to do the alternating fire with the left and right trigger, but that doesn't work. And I quickly learned that. FinFed in the community on Twitter was talking about this on Twitter, saying that he wishes that the ISB agent would stay the same, but the ARC Trooper would switch back to that firing ability. And I'm apt to agree with that. I think that would be a good move. So that has been a overview of the Age of Rebellion update. Next month we are getting the Scarif addition to the game, as well as Capital Supremacy, or now Supremacy, coming to the original trilogy maps, as well as Scarif. I'm super excited about that. They're going to talk more about instant action next month. Hopefully that means it will be coming out, and that's not going to get delayed, because instant action it would be sad if that was delayed. But I am super excited about the Scarif update. It's going to be the landing pad 13, and it's going to be a very, very nice looking sunset map. I think looks very nice. I know a friend of the podcast, Elliot from Battlefront Updates, says he hopes that they will have the ability to alternate maps between like daylight and that sunset. And I think that could be cool, a cool change to switch it up a bit. Now let's hope after these changes, now that we've gotten Capital Supremacy on all of the eras, that Galactic Assault will start getting some love in terms of those new maps. Because Galactic Assault back on Scarif would be a great callback.
That would be a really good format for that certain game mode. Scarif is just an amazing map. That's probably my favorite map from the previous game. It was a really solid map.
I'm partial to probably the Solus maps, but I love me some Scarif. I think they did a fantastic job on those maps. I think that's about it for this episode of the Battlefront Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I've been your host, Sage Goodwin.
And I'm Sam Goodwin.
You can follow us on Twitter at SWB Podcast, twitter.com/SWB Podcast. We're also on Instagram, instagram.com/SWB Podcast. We're at SWB Podcast on there as well. And we're on Facebook. If you like memes, follow us on Instagram. And if you like keeping up to date on the news, keep an eye out on Battlefront Podcast on Twitter, as well as Wayfinder. Definitely check out Wayfinder on Twitter and Instagram. You can support the show on Patreon, patreon.com/Battlefront Podcast, like friend of the podcast, Joseph Loera, or through PayPal, paypal.me/tie-dye-sheep, TYEDYESHEEP. I like friend of the podcast, Daniel Schilling. Great free way to support the show is through leaving us a review on your favorite podcast app, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, wherever there are podcast reviews. We would greatly appreciate it. The most recent one that we got was so good I had to screenshot it. It's by sblev808, and it's a 5-star review. It's almost like they're eating delicious food in front of me when they talk and make me want to play. And since I'm too lazy to be kept up, I just listen to this as where in the world, as for example, where in the world did the Clone Commando come from? How long has he been in here? Plus they shoot out great game ideas with maps and game modes and even what the community actually wants. Please bring more original trilogy content soon. We've got that now. I was reading that. I was like, oh my gosh, that's hilarious. Thank you so much for the review. It's greatly appreciated. Helps us out a ton.
Our Gmail is battlefrontpodcast@gmail.com, and our YouTube channel is youtube.com/the Star Wars Battlefront Podcast.
We've got a lot of great topics that we'll be covering. We're recording a couple of podcast episodes, more like evergreen topics later this week before our trip to the UK, Scotland, and Ireland. We're super, super pumped. Once we get back, we've got a lot of content planned. We've got a lot of plans in the works, and the studio is coming together through a very, very nice donation. We've got a lot of funds given to us for the studio. Some friends of ours in town gave us a great donation. We got a bunch of microphones and a good amount of money for renovation of the studio, and we're greatly appreciative of that. So that's coming soon, and we want to start doing live streams. We want to start getting back into making YouTube videos. We've got lots of plans. We've got partnerships coming up with some awesome people in the community through Wayfinder. So definitely keep an eye out for that. You can listen to the show on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Wherever you find podcasts, you can find this show, as well as on Spotify now. We're now on Spotify. As always,
thanks for listening,
and may the Force be with you.